Hello, Legionnaires, and welcome to some Rando RPG livestream. Tonight, our panel of dungeon masters, game masters, referees, storytellers, and players will share their diverse tabletop role-playing game experiences to provide ideas, suggestions, and possibly even some advice for your tabletop RPG sessions. I hope you're ready to take some notes. I know I am, so let's get started. Hello, and welcome to some Rando RPG live stream. Let's get that nonsense off the screen and get the other nonsense where we thank you folks and get all this out of the way right off the bat. So thank you for joining me on some Rando RPG live stream. I am John Maxley-Auschlo, your favorite facilitator and host for tonight's discussion on exploring science fiction tabletop RPGs. Now, before I introduce the panelists and start the discussion, let's knock out some of the announcements here. First and foremost, I'm truly grateful you are joining us tonight for this live stream discussion, or VOD if you're watching later. And I hope you enjoy the conversation. After the live stream ends, the full live stream remains available for YouTube members only, while the first 4 segments will be chopped into videos for the public to view a month later. That's right, you're getting it now where everybody else has to wait a month and somebody's bouncing off of something. So, what do we do here on some Rando RPG live stream? In segments 1 through 4, we discuss topics surrounding the tabletop role-playing game hobby with an emphasis on individual experiences, desires, and expectations. In tonight's 4 segments on, I can't talk all of a sudden, it's like I'm losing my voice. Just started. On exploring science fiction tabletop RPGs, we hope to provide ideas, suggestions, and food for thought for your tabletop RPG sessions. And in segment 5, we let down our hair just to talk about nerd issues of interest. Want to join? Well, if you have some presence and charisma, that's right, some charisma, a good AV setup, and an interest in discussing tabletop RPGs in this format, join legionofmyth Discord to stay tuned for future topics. Help us get to know you, and maybe we'll get you on the show to talk about your experiences. Please consider supporting legionofmyth through the links in live stream's description. YouTube takes 30%, Twitch takes 50% of your hard-earned money, while Rumble, PayPal, Streamlabs, and Ko-Fi take between 0 and 5%. And you guys should know how this works by now. The Rumble rants and Super Chats, if it's less than $20, I'll read it at the end of the segment. If it's $20 or more, I will interrupt the conversation and read it immediately. And if it's $50 or more, I will take a drink in your name, and you can force the panel to answer any tabletop RPG-related question of your choice. If we make $100 or more in Super Chats or Rumble Rants, there will be a $100 Palladium Books or Drive-Thru RPG gift card giveaway during segment 5 at the end of the live stream. And I feel like somebody's doing construction in the background. Legion of Myth YouTube members, as well as tonight's Super Chatters, Rumble Ranters, and will have the opportunity to win, but you must be watching at the time of the giveaway, else it rolls over to next week. Now, this is moderated. So don't forget that mods will time out or even ban people who attack any panelist or chatter. Keep your various Twitters and internet beefs off my show. Attack the argument, not the person. Okay, is that James? James, is that you? With all the noise going on?
I've got a headset on.
I'm hearing a whole bunch of bottle rattling and voices talking, and if it's not you, I can't tell.
It me?
I don't know.
I'd
have to blow things up. So, anywho, I will continue on here.
Move me from the chat, and then if you still hear it, then
the charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the live stream's description for the link to where you can make your hopefully tax-deductible donation. Finally, please like this video, subscribe to all the panelists' channels found in the description. Oops, not there yet because we had changes, so I'll get them in the description as we're asking questions. And thank you for your time and support. Now, with that out of the way, joining me tonight, starting at the top, is Bear, the Gen X GM. Who are you, sir? What content products do you create, and what is your tabletop RPG experience?
I am a meat popsicle. I am a creator of superheroic material, from comic books to role-playing games to stupid opinions to whatever. I say what I want, I do what I want, I feel what I want, and if you like it, great. If you don't, well, like they said in that movie, you can fuck off the Muddle Village and leave me alone, and I'll be happy with that.
I'm going to bring back the fuck yourself off a bridge with Dan saying. I don't think there's anybody who knows that anymore. But, all right. And beneath him, we have Nagahide making his valiant return here. Sir, who are you? What content or products do you create? And what is your tabletop RPG experience?
Good evening, everyone. I don't make any products. I don't have any content currently. My experience is Dungeon Master and Game Master of Palladium, Dungeons and Dragons, all sorts of different games. So.
All right. And for the first time on the newly formatted Some Rando RPG live stream, we have Czar James. He's elevated himself to Czar status. Who are you? What contents or products do you create? And what is your tabletop RPG experience?
I have created a game which is on Biggest Geekest, but usually I just paint, and I've been playing AD&D since like 83.
Okay. All right, let's jump into our topic then tonight. So we're talking tonight about exploring science fiction sagas. I don't know, I took out the word saga. I didn't want that in there anymore. So we're exploring science fiction tabletop role-playing games. And this first segment is going to be on the allure. What is wonderful about science fiction role-playing games? So first question for you all, starting with Bear, is what is your favorite science fiction genre? Like hard sci-fi, science fantasy, military sci-fi, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And why is it so appealing to you?
So we'll just do that so we establish exactly where I'm coming from. Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Last Starfighter, Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff I like. I like the stuff that has heart. I like the stuff that has hope. I like the stuff that's not about the atrocities of mankind. It's about the hope of tomorrow. Now, that's it. I like Dune, but I don't really think Dune is sci-fi. I think Dune is philosophy, so it's a different beast in that regard. But when it comes to sci-fi, I want something that presents a humanity not in decline, but a humanity either going somewhere, doing something, or achieving something. It's very easy to be negative. It's very hard to be positive and enjoyable.
Okay. I'll hold on to the follow-up question. So I'm just going to drop down to Nagahide here. Same question for you, sir. What is your favorite science fiction genre? Same thing for hard sci-fi, science fantasy, et cetera. And why is it so appealing to you?
So I love all sci-fi, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with military sci-fi. I know it's on the nose. I'm in the military. So, but I like imagining that I'm blowing up giant robots and trying to save humanity from whatever alien creatures are out there trying to kill us, like Starship Troopers kind of stuff. Or one of my favorite sci-fi shows ever was like Firefly. Like,
another one.
They're everywhere.
I know.
Check the closet for brown coats.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. He said Firefly. I was thinking the stupid one with Crichton and all that nonsense.
Red Dwarf.
No. Oh, wrong Crichton.
No, he's so. Yeah, I know which one you're thinking
Farscape.
of.
Yeah.
Wait. You shut your whore mouth and go back to Whore Island right now, Mr. Liao. That is an amazing show.
No, it is not. It is horrible.
Yes, it is. You know nothing. You know
It is
nothing.
good.
Old men wearing dominatrix outfits means I'm out.
Yeah, well, that's because that's your usual Saturday. What do you want?
Well, there you go. I don't want my life in a show. Anyway, go ahead. No, go ahead. So yeah, Firefly, I take that back. Firefly I did like.
But yeah, like mech warrior kind of stuff. That's what I'm into. So.
Okay. Well, since it's actually directly related to something you said, I am going to hit you with a follow-up question. Have you heard of the game Battlelords of the 23rd Century?
No, but it sounds familiar. I don't think I've heard of it.
We covered it on our channel, but we covered the horrible 7th edition. You don't want to do that. You want 4th or 6th edition. If you can get your hands on Battlelords of the 23rd Century, you'll find what is, again, depending on your style of game, it is probably the best military sci-fi game because it really dives into the, how do I say this? The crunch of being, it tries to be as realistic as possible in a sci-fi setting, almost to its detriment. There are people who don't like it because it's over-fluffed, if that makes sense. But it's something you might want to check out. I highly suggest 6th edition, unless you must have space combat, then just get 7th edition for space combat and space combat alone. But 7th edition is garbage.
All right, I'll check it out.
Grizzly Beardo said Blake 7. There you go. For its time. Space Above and Beyond. Yes, I agree. All right, DM James. Same question for you, sir. What is your favorite science fiction genre, and why is it so appealing to you?
Probably hard hard science like Foundation and Earth and stuff like that. As far as role-playing games, Star Frontiers, Frontier Space, and Traveler 2300 are my favorite.
Actually saw that you did a video. I haven't seen the video, but I saw that you did a video somewhat recently on Frontier Space. So what are your general thoughts on that?
It's a cleaned up version of Star Frontiers. Everything that you could use for Star Frontiers is 100% adaptable.
Okay. Quick question,
zero
James.
work.
Is it the same system as Bare Bones Fantasy? Because I know it's the same guys. Is it compatible or is it similar to Bare Bones Fantasy?
I don't know anything about Bare Bone Fantasy, but basically you roll up a bunch of percentile attributes, and then you either roll under the attribute if you have a skill,
or
or
the skill
half
is a
of
part
the
of the
attribute.
right?
You're right.
Yeah,
or
so it's
half
the
of the
exact same,
attribute if you
Okay, so
don't
it's the
have a
same.
skill.
Cool. I should pick it up because I
So-
like Bare Bones Fantasy.
Yeah, you'll like.
I love one of the
Frontier
first paragraphs in the book of of the game, which is why I ended up buying it. But we won't get on that topic today. So, as chat is wont to do, because we support a lot of Palladium here, it's going to beg me to ask the question: are games like Rifts or Mutant Chronicles science fiction? Because I've actually heard people go different ways on this. Well, of course it's science fiction. It's the future. That's not science fiction. That's post-apocalyptic. Doesn't count. Blah, blah. What are your thoughts? Are those games science fiction, or is that a bridge too far? And I don't care who picks up. Go ahead and have a conversation.
I would say it's science fiction. I mean, science fiction, anything dealing with an advancement of science and fiction, to me, is science fiction. I mean, the name defines the genre, right? I mean, that's my opinion, anyways. Go ahead, Bear.
Well, I'm going to say the unpopular thing because that seems to be my lot in life. Science fiction is not a genre. Science fiction is a trope and a setting and window dressing. If you look at all the best science fiction stories, they're telling you a different kind of story set in a science fiction setting. They're either heroic quest, military adventure, exploration, human philosophy, things like that. They're not about the science. They're about the people in the science fiction-y type setting. So it's not really a genre at the end of the day. It's just a portmanteau for adventure. So is Rift sci-fi? Sure. Is it also post-apocalyptic? Absolutely. Is it gonzo fantasy? Why not? Because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as true science fiction as a genre. For me, I find it to be mostly just window dressing.
So one of the things that, and then I'll like this. Thank you for the membership, Mercurius. Is to me, and I'm saying this intentionally, science fiction is. I guess I kind of agree with Bear on this one. I don't like to bust it up into these nuanced tropes. I know some people do. Well, that's not sci-fi, that's science fantasy. I don't care. Does it have laser guns and spaceships? It's science fiction. Now, if you tell me there's magic involved, okay, now we're getting into something where it's like I have to think of this universe as being a little different than some other universe, but I just don't care. I don't care. I think the people that get really pedantic about that to the point where it's like, you said it's going to be a science fiction game, but then you brought up psychic, so I'm out. Like, what? Like, you kind of have to know what you're getting into. I think those people go too far personally, but some people have to have that brainchild. Like, nope, only this one thing can be it, nothing else can be. And I just don't agree with that. Anybody have any thoughts on that? All right. Mercurius, member for 8 months. Thank you very much. He says, anyone like Fading Suns? I actually haven't played. I've seen the book. Tell us about it real quickly, James. What do you
The
like about it?
version I have is the D6 version, and it's basically a political sci-fi where the church is incredibly powerful, and there's a number of houses like House Raven and House whatever, so you get involved in that kind of situation. There's also an alien race that's kind of beyond the other side of the portals or something that might come across at some point. But I'm basing this off of what I remember reading.
Okay.
Like 10 years
So
ago.
Bunker Dome, that's a good comment. I'll put it on the screen real quickly here. But we're talking in very vague generalities today. And the reason for that is because, and this is just an example, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but say, well, Nagahide said he likes military sci-fi. Maybe, Bear likes a Battlestar Galactica, so we'll call it a little darker sci-fi. James wants, big stompy robots, whatever, so those can all fit into today's discussion. But you do make a good point there. So Bear, you kind of mentioned something. Oh, do you have something to add on to that?
I don't like the modern Battlestar Galactica. I like the 78 show, which is not dark sci-fi at all. It's family sci-fi, and it's about
that's fair, yeah. I mean, it was still humans running from the silence, but yes, it was definitely not.
It was about the resilience of humans coming together as a new family. So people love to call Star Trek, even Gene Roddenberry called it Wagon Train to the Stars. Bullshit. Battlestar Galactica 78 was Wagon Train to the Stars because they were getting all together. And, anyway, go ahead, do the question. Sorry.
No. This is the discussion we're having today. I don't have an issue with you bringing that up. I just literally got done this week watching the entirety of the new Battlestar Galactica again. And somebody last week said, I didn't like all the religious elements in there, and I remembered them, but I was like, it wasn't bothering me. But the last season, yeah, that was ridiculous. Like, it was ridiculous. But
nothing annoys me more is when the showrunners say they have it all plotted out, and then you can just tell they're pulling shit out of their ass every season. It's like, yeah, take that J.J. Abrams bullshit away, please.
Right. Bear, I'm going to start with you on this one because I think you're the one that had the most initial comment on this. Are there any science fiction tropes you do not like?
Yes. Would you like me to expand upon those? I'm just being pedantic.
That's why you're here.
I couldn't give two flying fucks about big stompy robots.
Fair.
I couldn't give two flying fucks about giant religious imperiums.
One of these kids is doing his own thing.
I couldn't give two flying fucks about psionics, and I couldn't give two flying fucks about post-humanism.
Oh, interesting. What about you? So transhumanism?
Yeah, transhumanism.
I haven't dove into many of those games, so I honestly I don't have a lot of experience with them. But when I've read them, like I have one behind me, Mindjammer, which is unfortunately based on the Fate system, but I was like, I don't know if this is something I would want to deal with, but we'll skip over to James and we'll bounce back and mix it up a little bit. Are there any tropes you don't like, or are you just into it all?
I hate artificial gravity and time travel.
Really? Artificial gravity? That's an interesting one. Can you time travel? I get, but we'll probably have you elaborate on that. But start with the artificial gravity. What's the issue with that?
There is no possible way at any point in human existence that we could ever create enough energy to generate artificial gravity.
So it's the reality of the situation for you that's the problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why I prefer Traveler 2300 to Classic Traveler, because in 2300 there's no artificial gravity. In Star Frontiers there's no artificial gravity. In Frontier Space, again, no artificial gravity. In The Expanse, no artificial gravity.
Okay. And then what is it about time travel? Now, by the way, we only have limited time here because I know time travel is one that can get people really going on. But what generally is it that about time travel you don't like?
Probably just the endless amount of paradoxes that can be created in a game. So
like Fry having sex with his own grandmother?
Yeah, it's kind of like you're trying to run a game. You introduce time travel to it. And now everything just goes buck wild and just forget about it because,
Okay. Nagahide, the same question for you. Are there any science fiction tropes that you do not like?
Time travel. I hate time travel. I hate it really, really much. I have a game master that likes to throw it. Time travel in almost every game he runs, and it drives me insane.
Well, you know what? I'll run an awesome trans-dimensional Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games for you, sir, and you'll like time travel after that. No, you won't. It doesn't fix it. All right.
I do like trans-dimensional turtles, but I don't like time travel. I just use the trans-dimensional part.
That's
I don't
fair.
use the time travel part.
I don't see how throwing furries in helps.
Oh, James, we don't derail this. You know I will. Thank you. When we did the time travel, we did it in such a big increments that it wasn't going to affect anything. Plus, you had the it's not paradox. I just got done reading too much Mage. What's the
Paradox.
The evolution where it's like your weapons degrade and so forth. I forget the name of it.
Entropy.
Is that what it's called in the game?
Entropy, yeah. And
Okay.
in which game?
Well, in transdimensional TMNT.
I don't know about that. Jesus.
Yeah. No, there's something where it's like if you go backward in time and you bring like a jet, it falls apart because it just starts to devolve. You start to devolve too. So
whatever, you furry.
I mean, I can grab my book and look that up, but
you know what? You can keep calling me a furry. I'm still gonna like TMNT. So there you go.
Okay, you're allowed to.
I like TMNT too, so I'm on your side, Max.
All right. Well, there's two of you now, you furries.
There's one place where I would look at time travel and say it doesn't bother me as much, but it's a very niche case, and that's if you're actually playing Doctor Who. If you're doing that, if you're actually playing the Doctor Who game, okay, I'll let you do your time travel because usually you're not. Well,
you'll let them. How generous!
You're right. I will let them.
We're playing about Time Lords. I'll allow it.
Hey, well, Third Doctor didn't have time travel for a while, right?
I don't know. I'm not a nerd.
Where's a nerd's nerd? We need a real nerd in here.
She's here.
All right, let's go on to the next question. This time we will start with Nagahide. All right, we're still in the beginning, the allure of science fiction. So how do you create epic settings that span diverse worlds and civilizations? Now, just for the folks out there before he answers this, these guys get access to the questions before the stream so they can come in and talk coherently. There are two questions that are similar. This one is meant to be like a 10,000 foot, very general view, not diving into the minutia. So that's why you're going to have two questions that seem somewhat similar, because one is out in the expanse looking in, the other one's in the minutia. So this one is, how do you create epic settings that span diverse worlds and civilizations?
Well, to answer the first part of the whole question, I like the science fiction genre of RPGs, or whatever you want to call it, because my imagination is my limit, right? If I can imagine something, it can be in the game. So the second part of the question, going into like creating expansive worlds, like it's science fiction. I could create whatever, like if you're traveling from planet to planet, I can create whatever planet I want. If I want a planet made completely of glass with no plant life or no animals, and but somehow there's oxygen, boom, there it is. I created it for you. What are you going to do, right? And as far as creating an expansive, I would say, universe, or galaxies within a universe, if they're traveling from one place to another, in between your sessions, you take the time and you work out what kind of planet, alien life form, plant life, non-plant life, and think about the geography you've seen in media when it comes to science fiction, or whatever you can imagine yourself would work for what you want to have the players involved in.
Okay. So in terms of a setting, because I'm not worried about individual worlds, but settings are consisted of potentially many worlds depending on how your setting works. How do you implement those diverse without getting the minutia? Like how do you put together the fact that I want a volcano world, I want an ice world? Okay, let's use Star Wars just because I want a Mustafar, I want a Hoth, I want a Vulcan. That's right, Star Wars fans, I said Vulcan. I want I want these, I want an Earth type world. How do you incorporate those and make the setting feel, I don't want to say real, have a verisimilitude that makes you actually feel like you're there?
That gets in. You have to be able to describe. You have to. This is where you have to be the storyteller. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, you're traveling from here to here." You have to take. Oh, okay, traveling from planet Mustafar. going to Planet Hoth. During your travel, you run into an amoeba cloud in the middle of the asteroid belt
An
of
ultimate weapon stick.
674 or whatever. Right. Yeah. You have to come up with something that is in between the two places to kind of expand on the description of the universe, right?
All right. Let's tap
make
in
sense?
DM James for this one. Sir, how do you create epic settings that span diverse worlds and civilizations?
I generally just steal from everything I've ever read or watched in my entire life.
Okay. Can you give us an example?
Well, I mean, if I'm playing 2300, then that's going to be a setting. So that's already covered. If I'm ever get the chance to play Coriolis, then that's covered. So, I mean, I guess all the sci-fi games that I play come with built-in, baked-in settings.
Okay. Then I'll hit you up. Well, question for you, because Bear's going to tune out now. So what about games like Mech Warrior, for example, where everybody's human, lots of star systems, but everyone's human? How, because you love Battletech, I love Battletech. How is that setting epic when it's just humans? What does it do that?
I mean, I don't think you need anything more than humans. I mean, the whole idea is to tell a very, I would go and say, a very human story. You know, the story of, to quote Firefly, a couple, a band of humans on the ragged edge. I mean, they didn't need any aliens in that. And that was 100% a great storyline, A lot of times it seems like demi-humans in fantasy role-playing games, as well as aliens in sci-fi games, are a crutch that people use either because they give them a good stat or whatever. But honestly, they're not even required. I don't care.
So what makes BattleTech epic to you?
The politics.
Okay.
The fact that I played during the Succession Wars and there's so much skullduggery going on and mercenaries being hired and planets getting nuked from orbit and just all hell's breaking loose. I mean, I think what they say during the first Succession Wars, so many hundreds of trillions of people died. Like whole worlds were just erased. And there you are in the middle of this thing, just trying to, again, keep it all together on the ragged edge. You and your mercenary band scrap together with belling wire and frickin' duct tape, just trying to get the next job so that you can hopefully not, starve to death. And the whole time, just all hell's breaking loose.
Okay.
All right, so hold on. Again, I want to wrap it all up as a very human story that could be transposed into any setting, really. It's just about how humans react to extraordinary situations.
Okay. Bear, how do you create epic settings that span diverse worlds and civilizations?
Rule number one, I try to avoid the Planet of the Hat. That's the worst trope possible, is the Planet of the Hat. And
what is that?
So Star Trek does it, Star Wars does it, Farscape did it, Battletech probably does it. It's when you go to the planet of the Vulcans. They have a monoculture, a mono language. They all wear the same clothes. They are one culture. The Klingons are all honor-bound samurai biker Vikings. The Romulans are all sneaky politicos. The Andorians are all this. It's this mentality that there is no. But humans are a vastly diverse and fascinating group of cultures and linguistic families and this. But these other aliens, no, fuck them. They're all blue and wear the same hat. That's boring. So in those cases, I think it's better to just do what James was saying, get rid of the aliens. Just Just make it humans. Dune did it. All the Dune ripoffs do it. Warhammer has aliens, but you know what I mean. Like they have a lot of the tropes. BattleTech, probably the greatest of the Dune ripoffs, does it without, just adds in giant robots. It's you got to make your world interesting. If you're gonna put aliens in, consider them a lot, right? Not everybody in Japan is a samurai and wears kimonos.
Wait, I'm married to a Japanese woman. I beg to differ, sir.
Well, first of all, she's a ninja and a Miko, and we know that. Okay. The idea of reducing everything to monocultures, why bother having them in that point, right? Biome planets, the desert world, the swamp world, the ice world. Yet somehow on the ice world, there's oxygen and life exists and creatures can survive there without there being anything for them to eat for the most part. Oh, wait, on the desert planet, there's oxygen? On the desert planet that seems to have no plants and they have to suck minute amounts of moisture out of the air? These are the things that break the verisimilitude. These are the things that break the buy-in. Now, if you're just playing pew, 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 yeah, who gives a shit? It's the planet of the lava.
Worms generate oxygen.
The worms, yeah, okay. Anyway, my point being is that
just a little known Dune fact: the worms generate.
It doesn't change the fact that it's absolute horseshit and nonsense to think that the Dune worms produce enough oxygen for a whole planet.
Have you seen these things? They're like 3 miles long.
I know, in the deep desert, they're 400 kilometers long. We know, it's amazing, but it doesn't matter. Or 400 meters or whatever. It's the fact that it's just nonsense, right? And what we want to do is say, one with the other. Are we going nonsense or are we going hard sci-fi? If we're going hard sci-fi, make a hard sci-fi setting. If you're going woo-woo pew-pew, do whatever the fuck you want. Planet of the lava men. The whole planet's volcanoes. Really? Yep. And they're all lava men. Yep. Where's the oxygen come from? Doesn't matter. It's not a part. We have artificial gravity. How do you do that? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just there. And that's the thing that a lot of people have a hard time with in sci-fi, is that there's very, very severe breakpoints in what your setting is and isn't, and whether you have to explain things or not. And sometimes you'll see that argument, which personally, no offense, Walter and the others, I feel is a lazy argument, that, well, any technology advanced to a point would be considered magic by a primitive society. Okay, well, the Atlanteans could talk to each other instantaneously around the world, according to the legends. And they had flying machines that were powered by the very lightning of the skies. And they could sail the open seas without having to be worried about getting... Okay, so they had cell phones, airplanes, and navigation. They had magnetic compasses. Okay, so now it's magic, or is it technology? What is it? And when we get into that, it just becomes a bag of worms that you're... not sandworms, but a bag of worms that you're now trying to fucking handle. And you're going to run out of fucking hands and fingers and people, and you're going to get worms everywhere. So just make a choice. You're doing hard sci-fi, you're doing woo-woo. Once you know which one you're doing, lean into it. That's what made The Expanse such an exciting show. That's what made The Expanse such an exciting universe. They chose hard sci-fi, and they leaned into it. So when they brought in the elements of woo-woo, now it's interesting. Now it's fun. So if I'm running a game set in a world like Outland with Sean Connery, right? So that's Outland, Blade Runner, Aliens, Alien. It's that level of technology. What happens when you find the alien? What happens when you find the ruins of the lost civilization? What happens when the Stargate opens and something comes through? You didn't even know there was a Stargate in the first place, and now there's suddenly one there that hasn't been used in thousands of years, but humans have only been on this colony for 100 years. That's when the interesting stuff kicks in, because all the preconceived notions of the human players, now they got to deal with this. Now they got to figure out what the hell's going on. Now they got to understand. Probably Total Recall is one of the best examples of that, right? They find the pyramid. It's supposed to be an oxygen generator. No, it's not. That's why the aliens never did. Well, we're going to do it anyway and see what we can do. Interesting. Plot, story, drive. If your game is hard sci-fi and you're just a bunch of traders booting around the galaxy looking for the next deal, well, shit, son, that's my life. That's my job. That's not escapism to me. Just because you put me in a spaceship and gave me a bolter gun doesn't make it more interesting than trying to chase down leads and prospects in a regular sales job. At least for
I mean, if you look at just using that example, if you look at Futurama, right? I mean, Futurama's a cartoon; it's funny, et cetera, et cetera. But Fry was a delivery boy. But how many actual episodes had anything to do with them delivering anything?
Good news,
Other
everybody.
than exposition to get them from one spot to another.
Yes, and that's leaning into the woo-woo, because if you are the Firefly gang, or you are the Planet Express gang, or you are, every time you do something, it's just insanity and it's never what it's supposed to be. At some point, believability shatters and breaks, right? Really? Every time you guys take a delivery, it turns into something. Every time you guys take a job, it turns into something. It becomes the A-team, for God's sake. You know what I mean? But if that's what you're going for, lean into it. But when I hear people say hard sci-fi, hard sci-fi is boring.
It can be, yeah.
For me.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to move on because a lot of this discussion is actually going to also take place in the next segment. So we'll get to that in just a moment here. I do have to ask that whoever's got the TV on in the background has really got to turn it off, shut a door or something. Is becoming very distracting for me. Please, and everybody else can like, subscribe, and share. So that was the allure of science fiction. The next segment is going to be on building your universe, and we'll talk about that in just a moment.